How you doing today, guys? This is Alex Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world. Today we're going to talk about inequalities. So what is an inequality? If we look at that, an inequality is kind of like an equation, but instead of the equal sign, we're going to use those inequality signs. And just as a reminder, we have 4 different signs for inequalities, which is going to be the greater than, less than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. Okay, we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about how to graph an inequality. We're going to talk about how to write an inequality. We're going to talk about how to solve an inequality and a special rule involving negatives. Okay, so with that being said, let's start with writing these symbols on the side. So I got greater than, less than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. Okay, just to start with, whenever we graph inequalities, we're going to have 2 different symbols. So for this one, it means we're going to have an open circle. That means that the answer will not be included. And for this one, we're going to have a closed circle, which means the answer will be included. Anybody has any questions so far? Okay? So open circle, answer is not included. Closed circle, the answer is included. So for instance, if I just take x is greater than 4, which one's bigger, the x or the 4?
4.
X is greater than 4. So that means if I put a number 5 right here, instead of x, is 5 greater than 4?
Yes.
Then it complements my answer, okay? So what if I put in a 3 right here? Is 3 greater than 4?
No.
No. So this is why it's important. In the way I remember this, I know that the small one, it's the big one. If you look at this as Pac-Man, the small one, it's the big one. Okay? So a way to remember. It goes the same way with the inequality sign. The small one is always going to eat the big one. Why is that important? This is important when you graph it. So when you have a graph like this is going to point toward the direction where you're going to graph it. So we're looking at this. Is it going to be open or closed circle?
Open.
Open circle. So you're going to put in an open circle. This is your number 4. And everything bigger than 4 is going to be part of my answer. But not 4. Because if I put 4 right here, is 4 greater than 4?
No.
It is the same. However, if I put this right here, is 4 greater or equal to 4?
Equal.
Equal. So that's part of my answer. Then this would have been like that. Now it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky when you have, let's do a different number. Let's say you have 3 greater than x. Okay? That's going to be a little different right now. Because we're used to see the letters before the numbers, right? But just think about it. Which one's the bigger one? Remember, the small one, it's the big one.
3.
The 3 is going to be the big one. So this is the same thing. Which one is the bigger one?
3.
3. The small one, it's the big one. The small one, it's the big one. Let me turn this off. The small one, it's the big one. So if you were to write this, what way am I putting my line? To the right or to the left?
To right.
No.
I had right and I had left.
I don't see it.
Okay, but
To the right. Where's the X going?
where's it pointing to?
The 3.
So which one's the small one? The X. Okay. So if we rewrite this,
Go left.
whenever you have the letter on the right side, this is the same thing as having 3 less than X. Look at this. 3 is more than X, right? So that means that X is less than 3. What is this? 3X less than 3. It's the same thing. So don't get confused. So in this case, you're going to have your 3 not included and then go this way. So far so good?
Yeah.
Okay? So whenever you have it like that, just remember you're going to go the opposite way or rewrite it. But whenever you write it, just flip the tortilla. And if you flip the tortilla, you got to flip the sign as well. Okay? So that's for graphing. Okay? Now if it's included, all you have to do is close the circle. That means 3 is part of the answer. Any questions so far? Okay, so graphing is really easy. So we covered graphing. Now let's move to something else. What was the second thing I told you we were going to talk about? We have graphing, going over symbols. You want to write the equation next, or you want to solve for an equation next?
Right.
Write the equation. So let's write the equation, and I have this word problem right here. When writing the equation, it's just like when we did equations, except now we gotta recognize what sign are we using when looking at the keywords. So in this inequality, it says Ben went to the fair, and he cannot spend more than $40. They gave him 40 bucks, that's all he can spend. To get in is a $10 fee, and each ride is $3. How many rides can he afford? Okay? Some of you might be able to do this on your head, but what I want you to know is how to write these equations, okay? So just like before, we're gonna circle and underline we're gonna underline what we know, circle what we don't know. $40 is the total, okay? So $40 is the total. So he cannot spend more than 40.
It's 3x.
Well, let me ask you this. Can he spend $41?
No.
No, because he only has 40, right? Can he spend $40?
Yes.
Yes. Can he spend $39?
Yes.
So he can use the whole 40 or have something left over, right? So what sign are we using? The one,
Less than or equal to
Greater than.
are we using the top or the bottom ones?
the bottom.
The bottoms, okay? So if I give you, let's say my answer is, well, let's hold on a second. If they're given the graphs, let's say they give you 3 graphs. Can you eliminate any of the answers just by looking at the graphs right away?
Yes.
Which ones?
The second and the third.
The 2 in the middle, because these are not included and we are including. So that's something to keep in mind. You might be able to eliminate something before you actually even start doing anything, okay? So let's write off equation. So now, we established that we're gonna use one of these 2 signs. Which one is it? Greater than or equal or less than or equal? Can he spend more than 40? No, so it has to be less than or equal to 40. Everybody agree so far? Okay. So now, what else do we know? What else do we know in this case?
It's $10 to get in.
$10 to get in. He's not jumping the fence, he's not digging a tunnel, so he has to pay that, right? Plus 10. Very good. Now, how much per ride?
3.
Because it says how many rides, and each ride, so it's 3x. You can put right here. The question has the variable, just like before. And we're gonna solve this like we did solve any other equations. So we're gonna take away 10. So we're gonna have 3x less than or equal to 30. And then we're gonna divide by 3 because that's the opposite of multiplication. So x is less than or equal to 10 rides. So how many rides can he
10.
go?
3.
10. Can he write 11 things?
No.
No. Can he write 5?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so basically if you were to plot this on a number line, what way am I going? To the right or to the left?
To the left.
Well, that way. To the right or to the left?
Left.
So I'm going to the left, so it'll be 10. Included or not included?
Included.
So that means it's a closed or open?
Closed. Closed.
Well, you can see this on the video. So it's closed circle, 10, and it's everything that way. Notice 0 is somewhere over here and then everything else is negative. So that means that any number less than 10 satisfies my answer. So can he go to 1 ride?
Yeah.
Yes, but not more than 10. Any questions on this so far?
No.
The last thing I want to show you is the special, it's not special, well I call it special because it's different than any other equation, and for that, yes, that's where I'm gonna go. So, we're gonna do this example, negative x over 5 minus 3 greater than negative 7, okay? So we have negative x over 5 minus 3 greater than negative 7. So we're gonna solve it regularly, okay? So my first step will be to
Get rid of the three.
Subtract it.
add 3, because that's the opposite of subtract, right? So that cancels out. -7
Plus a positive.
plus 3 is
4.
10.
-4. It's like you owe me $7 and then you pay me 3, but you still owe me money, right? Now that cancels out, so you're left with -x over 5 greater than -4. My last step is to do what? Undo this -5, right? How are we gonna undo this -5? What is it currently doing?
Multiply.
Multiply the negative 5.
We're gonna multiply because it's
The negative 5.
dividing, right?
Oh.
The opposite of division is to multiply by that -5. So that cancels this out, and you're left with x. 4 times 5 is 20, and 2 negatives make a positive. Now, this is a rule. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the sign. That's the only difference than equations. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, like we did over here, you gotta flip the sign.
When what?
When you multiply or divide by a negative number, you just flip the sign the other way. That's the only difference. Any questions so far?
No.
That's it for today, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.